Hey everyone, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the OSR Tabletop with DM Bloodworth. And today I'm joined by a guest, the OG GM, and
What's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen?
so it's actually been quite a while that I've known the OG GM, and we were actually a couple months ago supposed to do a live stream of
Of us eating Arby's, yeah, I still have to do that.
eating Arby's, and because that is, of course, one of his one of his like my favorite videos of his is doing those. I eat it. So you don't have to
I haven't done one in a while.
episodes. Yeah, you haven't done one of those in a while.
There
So
hasn't been any interesting things on the shelves lately. You'd think with Easter, but
yeah, so there's. I'm sure you'll find something.
don't worry, we'll do
Um,
Arby's soon.
yes. So well, you're in a new place, aren't you? So
Yes, I've now
did that.
settled in, so now I can move on to more things.
So yeah,
He is up and running.
it might have at least changed your prospects of finding different culinary things because
No, I'm still in the same city, so
Oh, so all right. Oh, so
sadly, yeah,
it's not
but-
Costa Rica, right?
right? What? I don't live in Ventura. Remember, you cannot walk to your job if you live in California. So therefore,
Yeah.
I must live someplace where I can walk to my job.
Okay, so so what we're going to talk about, because I think the OGGM and actually several other people have said the same thing, that you know I think it's almost like on a 3 to 4 month cycle,
Yeah.
that this issue of um safety tools and session zero keep on coming up every 3 or 4 months. But this time around, I've actually seen a new twist to it, and so and I wanted to look into some of the comments that were made, and look for the original comment that really sparked it. And so I went to Twitter today, and I was like searching down. I believe her name is Jennifer Kretschner. So Jennifer Kretschner is a D&D 5e personality, I guess. She's an author of she was an author of One of the Adventures of Candlekeep, and she had apparently made a comment about how safety tools, and in particular session zero in in Tasha's cauldron of everything wrong with D&D's direction. Um, she she had pointed out that the problem with the way that Wizards of the Coast addressed the idea of session zero was that it victimizes the victim in forcing them to divulge what triggers them, and so it's an invasion of their privacy. And when I heard that, I said, because I heard it secondhand. So I says, well, let me take a look at it and see if I can find her original comment. So I went into Twitter, because I figured that's probably where she had made this statement, and I found out that I'm part of her blockchain. So I was like, I didn't even know who this person was. So I'm actually pretty proud of the fact that I've been blocked by somebody with
Yes.
probably vastly greater numbers of followers than I have, because I am truly a nobody. And and I'm like, all right, so this person I never had contact with, probably, you know, found somebody that they didn't like, and so they went to that person's followers list and just blocked everybody on the followers list.
No,
So I was
then I'm
like, well,
blocked.
yeah. So I say, well, let me look further and see if I can find anything. So I started looking through some of the connections, to this particular Twitter thread, and I says, oh, Matt Colville. Let me see if he's addressing the issue. And I clicked on his name, and I was blocked by him too. never had contact with him at all. And so, and he's actually probably more well known than this Kretschner woman. So I was like, well, wow, I'm
What did we
like
do to
really
piss
moving
off
up
him?
there.
God,
It's like, so I'm waiting to be blocked by somebody that's really super important. But it just is what it is. So when I started to see what they were connected to, or what she in particular was connected to, I was like, you know what, it's who cares? It's it's a bad take no matter how you look at it, because her issue, at least I have to go based on the secondhand knowledge now. Her issue was that it's a privacy issue, and so session zero, when you have when you have somebody telling you what they're triggered by, it violates their privacy.
So
She's
she wants to
wrong.
get rid of the safety tools.
Yeah. It's like, so what do you want instead? I said, so to me, it's like, well, she's wrong on that premise, number one. The real problem with the safety tools is that, yes, Wizards of the Coast certainly did them wrong. So they don't understand what they're really for. And what they what they really should have done with the safety tool, or session zero, I should say, session zero, at least in my opinion, and I'm going to stand by it as being a better idea than theirs anyway, is it's a moment for the DM to inform the prospective players what's going to take place at his or her table. All right, and that's the real purpose of it. Now I know that the OGGM, you've actually stated that you don't like session zero at all.
No, I love session zero.
Oh, so what was the other individual that I was following? So he was totally against session zero. So it was a terrible idea. And he kind of bought into the privacy issue of it. So I apologize for that. I did
No problem. I mean, one has nothing to do with the other, but no problem.
Yeah, I just mixed you up with
I'm easy to be confused
with the other individual. So yeah, to me, I think session zero is valuable for the DM to be transparent, to tell the rest of the prospective players that these are my expectations for you as a player. These are the expectations that you can have of me from what I'm intending to do at the table. This is the game that I'm playing. These are the rules that I'll be using. These are the various modifications that I might have either added or removed, or what have you. This is the overall theme. This is the setting. This is the just all informative, but very much directed by the DM, and very centric, DM centric. This is what I'm running. All right. And now you have a choice as a player or prospective player. Are you willing to accept that, sit down and play? All right. And as I was going through that, I just wanted to touch bases with you, because I know you had just done a video as well, and kind of talking about that. So I'll give you the floor, and you can talk about your impression of it.
Yeah, I was responding to Sylvia and Miguel's video, because I guess the safety tips thing has been floating around again, and I was just like, you said it too. It's like there's this rotation of like 5 topics, and it's like, when we can't think of anything else to talk about, let's just go to these 5 topics. And it's usually, oh, they did this, or we, the us versus them. So I guess the topic du jour this week is safety tools, and I don't know if it has anything to do with that stupid Dungeon Master comment or not.
I'm going to get to that too. Yeah.
So I was talking about safety tools, again, and like, I'm even before I met you, and then you said the thing you said, I firmly agree with the thing you said, which is about just show them the rule book. and ask them, if there's anything in this rule book you're offended by, you probably shouldn't be playing in this game, because everything you can encounter is in this book, whether it be D&D, Call of Cthulhu, Weird West, whatever. These are the pictures, these are the monsters. Chances are I'm not going to make up anything original because other people have done the work for me. So if you're offended by any of this, this is probably not the game for you. Let's go find a game you'll like. And I've had 3 experiences with safety tools, 2 true, 1 I think is made up, but it does feel like whatever the intent was, it's more just of a tool for people to go, I don't want that to happen to my character. So, oh no, you've triggered my fear of bees that I forgot about. So yeah, I understand the idea, but we've been doing this for almost 50 years now. And only in like the last 6 years, this has become a thing. You got to start to wonder what kind of sick shit 5e players are up to that they have to now need safety tubes when we were fine for 40 years. I'm 12 years old and I'm playing D&D with a bunch of grown men and women. My parents didn't like worry.
Right.
Anything like that. It's like, you're adults. If something bad happens, to walk away, now it's like you need these 13 pages of consent, which, taking it to the furthest level of ridiculousness, that's a contract. And somebody technically could say you violated the contract.
Maybe that's the purpose of it too.
I am going to take you to court. When originally safety tools didn't start, they come from, a whole different place. We're not going to address where they came from originally, but you took something that wasn't meant for our hobby and tried to sort of glue it on top of the hobby because somebody felt triggered because somebody cast hold person on their character.
Right.
It's just, it doesn't, I don't know why it's come up again. I don't know who felt triggered or offended by 5e this time around that they had to go, oh, safety tools,
Well, one thing I actually read a comment somewhere just in the last 2 days where the one person was responding and they, to this kind of, this concern about the need for using safety tools. And someone really did lay it at the feet of the modern player. They were like, this didn't take place back in the day. We didn't have these kinds of issues back in the day. They said if the modern player wasn't, every time that a female character was going to do that long rest for the night, that the rest of the party would try to jump on top of her, that just didn't take place. I mean, I played when I was, 11, 12, 13, through all of my teens with a group of boys all in the same age group.
Yeah, I played with plenty of men, women. Nobody ever felt uncomfortable.
And yeah, I mean, we even played, I played female characters when I was a teenager, and this thing just never came up. It never happened. We never, oh, let's see what she, looks like. It just never happened, and, I really do think that it's just a more modern problem of, people coming to the table and, doing these, really silly, bizarre things. And then on top of that, not separating their characters and what they're doing and their experience as a player. Like they're conflating the two. They're just like so into their character that, oh, if you do this against my character, I am attacked by this. I feel threatened, or I feel like I'm in danger. I never once ever thought that, I'm at risk playing,
never.
Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, a risk of what? I mean, the greatest risk was you might have accidentally stepped on a D4. Yeah.
I mean, got a paper cut,
Yeah, it's like there was no risk. There was never any indication that, I'm experiencing some monster from the monster manual, and do I have to worry that this is going to come after me in real life? It's just bizarre, completely bizarre that we have to deal with, um, a massive number of players, I guess, because their numbers are clearly larger today than they were than back in the day. That I mean, is there 1,000 or 10,000 people roaming around that can't differentiate between real and fantasy, and they're just expressing this, constantly about the hobby, that, oh, the hobby needs to protect us from, the imaginary boogeyman. It's just very bizarre, to me. So, I mean, that's really what spurred this on was, and like I said, it comes up every 3 to 4 months. It rises, but now we have a new twist to it. And the new twist is not only are they potentially attacking session zero, and there might be a variety of reasons for that. I think maybe one of the reasons is that we in the OSR have taken it and said, you know what, we agree with session zero. um we'll use it the way that it really should have been designed. We're going to say, this is what's going to happen at my table. If you sit down now, you've given consent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they hate to hear that. I know that they hate to hear that, because I've had people attack me for saying that's not consent. I was like, no, if you chose to sit after I have explained everything, well, go into detail exactly what you said, so that I can now determine whether or not that person really gave consent, whether you were really transparent. I was like, no, I'm not going to waste my time with you. I have no intention to ever play at my table. I probably wouldn't last 3 seconds at my table, because, I would bust out my newest little thing there, which is the thumbnail for this video, and that is my Table Masters X card. All right, and so when people see the thumbnail, they'll see exactly what it is, and I'll go into more detail as to what that is. And yes, it is tongue in cheek. All right. Although I did imagine going to like a convention and having this thing blown up onto like a huge, like 3 foot by 3 foot card, to just raise it out and say, here you go, hand it out to the person as they're getting ejected from my table, but let me get into that next element that we've seen, and you mentioned it as well. We must remove the use of the word master, because
Where did that come from?
master.
That's gotta be an April Fool's joke.
Well, no. It came from a feminist that a pink-haired feminist on Twitter, and I don't care what her pronouns were. She looked like a woman, so I'll say she. She came out and said that, well, master is charged with both, the patriarchy, and it's degrading to, marginalized people, and this and that, and totally forgetting. And some of us actually put out there, it says, well, my tweet was, what are you going to do about a Master of Arts or a Master of Sciences in colleges? Are they supposed to get rid of this?
Yeah, I mean, every use of the master is supposed to be changed to something else.
Yeah, to some
Sorry,
other
you don't
kind
have
of
a
thing.
master's degree in history anymore. Now you just have a college degree.
Yes,
too.
yes, yeah. I have something. I don't know if an associate's degree. Well, that implies that you're associated with somebody else, and is that a consensual association? I'm not sure. Maybe that might trigger somebody.
I'm offended by the word bachelor.
Yes, yeah, but because that's gendered. Yes,
I'm not married.
Yeah,
I'm offended by the word dungeon. I mean, geez, have you ever seen a dungeon?
Yeah, so let's see what we have here in comments. This is a huge comment. The oral consensuation form, ideal for the RPG. Before play begins, read aloud the following consent form. Pause. You should be made individuals at the table. Say their names in appropriate time. Agree that you say your name will be brave and not cry or whimper because of my oversensitive butthurt. 2, I will participate fully because I know that A, it's a game and make believe, and B, fantasy and made up things. Yes. So let's see. Is that the blue haired girl? I'm not sure. I have to remember. She probably changes her color. I believe you're referring to the author of the Candlekeep thing. I also saw that she was also an author of something written by written for um, that what the hell is his name? The one from Swyhander. I always forget his Daniel Fox. So well, once I saw that, I was like, oh God, she's one of those. So I didn't even bother digging any deeper. Let's see. Indigo, hello. Good evening. And Solo RPG guy, hey, how's it going? And yes, I came across another suggested purchase for a solo module that I'll have to take a look at.
Yes,
Do you
Hank.
expect us to read minds then? I'm not quite sure.
Well, if we get rid of session 0 and if we get rid of the consent, how are we
Oh,
supposed
yes.
to
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what their
because now
no,
you're saying after going through all the trouble of installing this whole consent thing because it's a violation of privacy, you don't want us to go through the consent thing for session 0, but you still want us to protect you.
Well, yeah, no.
We can't protect you
you're
without violating your
yeah.
privacy.
What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to remove anything that is potentially contentious, or anything that poses a risk of any kind.
Any kind. So not just combat risk, but
no, there's
any mental, physical,
anything.
social.
If they're
so I should just give out the experience points and go home.
Yes, I guess that you have to limit yourself to making iced coffees as a barista because hot coffee might burn yourself.
Yeah, you can't.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you have to go with
you can't use the blender to make the iced coffee.
No,
because you might cut your finger. So,
but I legitimately think that that's where they really would like it to go, is to remove all conflict, and then if you remove all conflict, then everyone will be safe. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Yes. So let's see. We have yes, Hank. We expect to read minds. Yes. And we'll go. Session 0 is good if you have new players,
yes,
but could easily skip into the experience group. Yeah, one thing I brought up with new heroes, and the OGGM also mentioned it. I would hand a group of new players, totally inexperienced with any RPG, but let's just keep it in line with D&D. I would hand them the player's handbook, and I would say anything that is in this book you can do with your character. All right, so your character can choose any of these classes, play any of the permissible races for that class. You could do any of the skills or any of the things. That is what you can expect that your character can do. I would then hand them the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I'll say anything that is in this book you could potentially experience as a character, from wandering monsters to discovering these treasures to so on and so forth. So you have your falling damage in there. You have all of the variety of hazards and instances of events that your character can experience. And then finally, the monster manual. Anything in this book you can encounter. All right. Not all encounters will be negative, but most of them will be. So you might have to fight it, and you might even be killed by it. So this is the experience. If you look at these 3 books, and none of these 3 books are written beyond the PG-13, label. None of them are beyond that. All right. And if you, as an adult, can handle These three things you're welcome to play. If you as an adult can't handle these, you have no business playing at this table, or probably no business playing in this hobby, because you're just not emotionally or mentally um, comfortable enough to experience imagination, at that level. You can't separate, real life from imagination to that, to the extent that is required to be playing in an RPG. And yes, I would definitely say, this is not a therapy session. This is a game session, and if you can't play the game, you need to, find some place where you'll be more comfortable. So I have no problem with, and if they want to call it gatekeeping, fine. I will gatekeep that away from my table, because safety tools are also meant for the table. Everyone at this table, or the majority of the table, is
There are
entitled
no
to be
DM
safe.
safety tools.
Yes, it's a DM safety tool.
How come I can't say, oh no, I'm upset by fires, so you can't fireball my monsters?
Yes, yeah, I remember you saying that actually. I was like, yeah, I'm afraid of fire. I've had a bad experience of fire.
Yeah,
So
I
you
saw the
can't.
Thompson fires. I have PTS
Yeah,
from the Thompson fires. I still have nightmares, from watching my entire life burn up. But I'm not going to go, oh no, you cast fireballs, that triggers me. Or should I?
let's see. We get some new people in here. The hamster wheel is virtual signal. You must. What that shit is. I missed the initial one. I was just putting up some new commenters and welcoming anything problematic. I hate that word. Yes. Um, and that's one thing that I said to her too in the tweet, which surprisingly that the she didn't block me immediately. I think she just made her own Twitter private, so that you can no longer see, I could no longer see it. So, potentially to her credit, at least she didn't ban me instantly. The one that was talking about eliminating the word master, but she did use the term problematic. Mastery is problematic, and I says no. The fact that you think mastery is problematic is what's problematic. You're giving the word a context that
The word
that's not
existed long
intended.
before,
Yeah,
and it existed long after. You can't just remove it from everything. You want to change it from the Dungeon Master's Guide to the Dungeon Runner's Guide? Am I no longer supposed to have a master's degree? What about the master bedroom? What's that TV show that Gordon Ramsay's on? Oh, Master Chef. What is
yeah,
Obi-Wan Kenobi? A Master Jedi. What was
yes.
Bruce Lee? A master of the martial arts. What are we supposed to change the word to?
Yeah, it's I as a matter of fact, I think it was Dungeon Runner, right? Which is a game.
Yeah, there's a game called Dungeon
There's a
Runner.
computer, yeah. So you'll run into a trademark problem with it.
Yeah.
Yes, Dungeon Runners, which isn't a bad game if I remember it correctly. Yeah. It was pretty simple game. Yeah. Most session 0 can be covered by make your characters now, no evil characters, make alignment great again.
What am I allowing in my game? What am I not allowing in my game?
Yeah, exactly.
What areas can we compromise on? Don't be evil, don't be stupid, don't be jerks. We're playing in a public place, so keep it, clean up after yourself. And nowadays, session 0 should be including things like, okay, what do we do if Steve doesn't show up?
Yes.
How do we contact each other? What are the rules for food? Stuff like that.
Yeah, another comment that I saw was also and maybe you said it yourself, know your audience. I mean, take a gauge of your table. Look at your table. If you have a table, if you're at a convention or a game store, and or you have children like I have that are in their teens or early 20s, and they especially the teenager was like, hey, a bunch of my friends want want to try Dungeons and Dragons? Will you run a game for me? I'm not going to run that the same way that I run it for my AD&D first edition, party of 46 to 65.
Oh yeah, totally. I run
Yeah,
completely different for kids than I do for
yeah.
adults.
You're obviously going to use common sense, which I believe you used repeatedly during your thing. It's like, yeah, apply some common sense, or if you want to just call it, it's common courtesy. Make sure that you do have responsibilities as DM to be transparent, to stick to your word. So you're not gonna pull the rug out from them. You're not gonna, hey, I'm not gonna tell them about this, but now I'm going to insert, this, very, inappropriate thing on them, and say, well, I forgot to tell you about this. And now I'm going to do this. I'm going to have, either, rape scenes or, the slaughter of children or anything like that the people just weren't prepped for. And I wouldn't consider that PG-13 anyway. I'm saying that's something that you have to say up front. No, we're playing a mature, hardcore rated R or more severe type of a game. And the age limit is 18 and above. You have to be very explicit about, this is what we're going to be doing, and transparent upfront, and don't pull the rug out from anybody. So you do have a responsibility to at least stay to your word when you describe what you're going to be doing at your table. Let's see what else we have here. Would an antonym help? Slavery. That wouldn't be problematic at all.
Yeah, that's not a problematic word. I mean, if
no, it's and this actually came up a couple of weeks ago as well. Oh, we need to remove slavery from, from gaming. It shouldn't exist. In all of the years that slavery was used in RPGs across the board, across many different RPGs have it. It is never put in a positive light. I have never seen any official module. I've never heard of anyone running their game like this where the player party is going to participate in slavery. It's almost always, like, every time that I've ever seen it or heard about it or read the modules about it, you're always working against the slave lords. You're always looking to free slaves. Now, if you're playing an evil campaign, most evil campaigns don't last very long. All right. And that's also by design, because now that you're playing the scumbags, and the DM is eventually going to have those consequences catch up to your group, and your group is not going to last. I've run evil characters, I've run evil campaigns, and they almost always end in total party wipes. And they usually don't last anywhere near as long as a good character campaign. All right, and that is by design. That's just the way. If you're playing out the campaign, the way it should be reflected, yeah, there's going to be a lot more negative consequences coming towards a player party that's playing that way. So it's just, I don't see having slavery in the game as a negative, because the player party is supposed to be fighting against it. I thought the Satanic Panic was bad back in the 80s. This is mild compared to the woke agenda today. Absolutely.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, at least in the 80s, we were cool Satan worshipers.
Right. It's like at least back then, the industry itself pushed back against the Satanic Panic. All right. The industry today agrees with the attacks. All right. And that's, I think, the biggest issue, is that they're actually agreeing. Oh, yes, it's horrible. The player base is terrible. That this is, the legacy of the gaming is terrible. And they wholeheartedly allow for their own industry to be attacked, and that's, that's the big difference, is you don't see any pushback by by Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or Chaosium or any of those. You don't see them pushing back and saying, no, actually, the games that we made back in the 80s and 90s, there was nothing wrong with them. All right. There was nothing written in their rules that said that encouraged you to play that way. That is just isolated small cases of, players being jerks, at very minute number of instances where it actually took place. And they don't. That's absolutely right, Cal. They don't, because they don't even stand up for their own product. They actually throw their own product under the bus
Oh God,
if
yes.
they feel that oh, this will get us some Twitter points.
No, yeah. I mean, Wizards of the Coast
Yes.
is abandoning product left and right. They'll throw it out there and then be like, "What? What product?"
So let's see. Shoner, hey Shoner. Butch and Sundance didn't last long. No, they didn't. yeah,
Well,
they did
I mean,
not last long at all.
They had a career before the movie, I assume.
So, all right, let me throw a banner up here. So, so this was one of the things that I was going to, come out with. So a table master. So obviously, I'm not getting rid of master. I'm going to keep master, but table master for me is that you're going to affirm that you're not just a master of the game that's taking place, but you're a master of the meta game that's taking place at your table. All right, and so you're going to be the one as the table master that is going to say, this is what's going to be in the game. This is how I'm going to be running the game. You have all the player agency that you want. You could do whatever you want as a player, as a character. You could do whatever you want, as a player controlling your character, just that I will be controlling the consequences. But I am not going to allow you to metagame. All right. So that's where you're not going to be allowed to bring in, real world issues, or you're not going to be able to ask things as a player to be inserted into the game. All right. Your character might drive some of what's going on in the world, but the player never will. All right. And that's something that I wanted to, kind of encapsulate when I'm thinking about, what's the real difference between being a dungeon master or a game master. Game master obviously is just used in any game that doesn't have dungeons. But I think table master is probably at least in my idea, just a better way to approach your gaming table. You're basically saying what happens at this table is my purview, and maybe after some time you'll have more influence as a player at what's going on at the table, but not initially. Initially, it's you agreed to sit here and play this game, and pretty much go with that for a little while. What do you think about that, OGGM?
Well, I would say, I mean, first, if you're going to be offended by any of these words, just use my name. Jesus.
Yeah.
I can't call you Dungeon Master. It's offensive. Then just call me by my name, dude.
Yeah, I say the same thing with pronouns. So it's like,
Yeah, it's
if you
Hey,
really, I think it's much more personable to actually say to call somebody by their name instead of saying, oh, her over there or him over here.
Player number 7,
say,
can you roll a d20?
Right. Yeah. I would rather just say, either the player's name or their character's name if I want to really keep it, in a game context,
individual.
And create more immersion that way. But yeah,
I don't think the title means anything. I mean, am I in charge of what's going on in the game and the meta game when I'm running 99%? Yeah, but there's always stuff that they can do that I find interesting or totally blow my mind. So I'm always learning. So I don't think this is an art form you can ever master, because it's an always evolving and changing puddle of water that is gaming. So I just call myself the guy who's running the game. Are you the DM? Yes. Are you the game master? Yes. Are you the guy running the game? Yes. Are you Mike? Yes. You call me whatever you want. I don't care. Yes.
Yeah. No, actually, let me see.
Gary came
Shoner.
up with the name Dungeon Master because who knows? It probably just sounded cool at the time.
Yeah. Shoner's mentioning here, he says no one role plays, they virtue single. Which is probably true. I know Shoner actually recently did a video that I was watching where he was talking about, just how, people really don't know how to role play. And, and he specifically said, to stop asking questions. Players should never ask questions, or certainly not as players. That's the metagame that I'm talking about as well. I always try to encourage my players to speak as their characters, from their character's perspective, and to, not ask questions of the DM. So yeah, he was, he did a video. It's a great video. Really gets you to think about, well, what can I do to, to create more immersion and more true role playing. And one of the things that, works, I think, well, is to have the players always speak as their characters. I'm not talking about voices and doing that kind of thing.
No,
Because I
great.
certainly don't do
Totally,
that.
yeah.
I don't do accents, which is also problematic, right? Don't do accents, because it's always
It's racial
stereotypical.
profiling.
Yes, but yeah, I don't do voices or accents or anything like that. I just talk, and I try to talk from the perspective of the character, whether it's the NPC or if I'm playing a player character. I speak, in their, in their voice, but not with their voice. Let's put it that way. Nope, they do not deserve our money, which is why I pretty much do not give, WotC any money.
Yeah, I haven't given them money.
Yeah, I haven't given them money in years.
I'll say good things about their shit, but I haven't given them any money.
Yeah,
they should be giving me money. My stock's down. My stock's down. People need to buy more Wizards of the Coast shit.
Well, Cal, I guess because I've been blocked by people with like hundreds of thousands of followers, that I must be an influencer or something. I mean, it's like, I was like, yes, I've actually been blocked by people that shouldn't even know who the hell I am. Yeah, I did that one already. So Dungeon Master is iconic because it uses the name of the game and in its game. The Game Master is better because it is a brand. It is broad to encompass all gamers. I don't really like Table Master. Right. Okay. That's, like I said, I was just, playing around with it and thinking.
Call yourself whatever you want.
Yeah, of course, but yeah, I was just thinking in terms of that controlling the metagame and the game itself at your table. But hey, I certainly appreciate the comment. If you want to say like why you don't like Table Master, I really appreciate that. What player autonomy is only what matters? No, player autonomy is not. I mean, certainly player autonomy over their character is what should be taking place. That fine, you're welcome to do the craziest, stupidest crap that you want to with your character. You will face consequences for it. But if you take great risk and everything, you'll also potentially get great reward as well. Yep. So, but yeah, those choices do matter. And they will influence the world around them. They should, because that really does create a living, breathing world. You shouldn't have your player characters, in your group doing all kinds of things, and it never impacts what's going on around them, that's boring as hell. Not every session is a one shot, totally disconnected from everything else going around them. Because that's really that's not running a role playing game. If you're running a role playing game, there should be impact by what the players are doing with their characters in your world. More specific than game master, less specific than dungeon master, the sweet spot. I guess so. Like I said, I think game master came out of the fact that
there are games other than D&D.
Yeah, games other than dungeon crawls, or because and some games just decided we're going to use a different
Shoner would know.
totally
Was
different
Traveler
things.
the first one?
Travel was the first one to use Game Master.
I don't know. Shoner's the Traveler guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that
they use probably referee.
Yeah, referee or
yeah.
supervisor.
I think referee. Master. I think referee came out before Game Master, but I could be wrong. But referee, and I know Gary Gygax only started using Game Master because Dungeon Master was trademarked. Our father used to get together and play cards, poker, socialize, shoot the breeze, fast forward. We as kids go together and did the same thing. If it's so offended, then don't play. Problem solved. Yes, absolutely. I like it. Yeah. I like your guest. I hope he's back in the future streams. Oh, there you go.
Subscribe to his vlog.
Yes. Yes, he will not say get off his lawn. And I was going to say I'm triggered by grass. I've had to crawl in grass before, so grass triggers me. So you can't say get off my lawn.
No, I can't say get off my lawn.
Yes. Call the carrot cake. Yes, you know what? That was a really cool video as well. And again, it gets us back to this whole idea of really the carrot cake analogy became, almost like an edition wars kind of thing, an anti-OSR kind of thing, not by the original person.
Our favorite idiot is attacking the OSR again.
Yeah, but it was used by, to attack the OSR and saying, but again, he
backfired. It's kind of like Thack of the Clown.
Yeah, he overlooked the true nuance of that video, and he certainly skipped over the fact that the original vlogger said there's a lot from the OSR that WotC should have learned but still hasn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not picking it up. I mean, I said in a recent comment on one of his videos that Wizards of the Coast should actually try to pick up some writers from the OSR, because they're obviously doing a lot more innovative things and a lot more creative writing than any of their current staff. And so maybe they can actually start producing stuff of their own rather than just reboots and having third party write better materials than they can produce. And it's not so much of a slight against Paizo that Paizo is writing one of their most popular adventure paths for 5e. What those 5e players are going to discover is that Paizo's adventure paths are better than anything that Wizards of the Coast staff writers are producing.
Oh yes, even the worst written ones are better.
Yeah, so that's going to backfire on them, and Paizo is basically using the OGL that that they that was created to to actually allow for Paizo to go forward, to be created, and now they're using it to to gain benefit, because nothing that they sell with the 5e label is putting money in Wizards of the Coast pocket. It's really just making Wizards of the Coast look like, oh well, crap. We're not writing our own crap. We're not writing things that people are people are gravitating to because, beyond just the fact that it has the D&D label on it, and that's another theme that I've been seeing that's ridiculous. It's like, oh, well, it's a brand. The brand is more important than the quality of the game. All right. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Sadly, he's right. Okay, so let's see. OGD is only allowed out of his safe space occasionally with supervision.
Cal, you know me too well. You know me too well. Yeah, they only allow me out on weekends.
Let's see. Could you do a nice New York accent, though?
Oh, just, yeah.
Well, that's me. I'm the New York accent. So I do intentionally bad accents. Yeah, I still have a Long Island accent, even though I haven't lived on Long Island in 30 years. Okay. Yes, Rogue Scholar. That is
that's probably what
very
happened.
Common thing. Yeah, that's probably what happened, or like I said, it was probably a blockchain. Reputation precedes. Yes. Yeah. All right, so let's see what else. Let's throw up another banner and see. Let's see. Oh, this is going way back to the start, but mastery is already gender neutral and only refers to having the mastery or having mastered a particular skill or area of knowledge. These are just like little notes for me to think about. I've talked about this already. Let's see. Session 0, Table Master centric tool to inform perspective. Talked about it. Let's see. The prospective player chooses to take a seat at the table. That's consent.
Yes.
Yeah, these are just my little notes to
Session 0
remind
is all about, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You okay with that? And plus, you always have time before and after the game to go say things like, hey, when we did that thing, and there's a, I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, thanks for letting me know. Moving on.
Yeah. Once I take the seat, that's when
no
I have
place in the game to suddenly just go, I can't do this anymore because I'm against you hurting animals, and get out and stomp away.
Right. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, once they given the consent that they're going, by sitting at the table and now they're ready to roll up their characters, that's when they can start discussing and asking, questions about, clarification of maybe the rules or the setting or details, that might be important as they're creating their character. I think that that's an appropriate time for them to start looking to see, well, tell me a little bit about the world, because when I'm creating my very short background for my first level character, because they shouldn't have huge backgrounds at that level. Yes, they should not. And you know what? I'll even quote Jeremy Crawford, who said that background is supposed to be behind you, and you're supposed to be playing your character moving forward. The moving forward is more important. But so I mean,
Jeremy Crawford also said, "Think for yourself." So
yes, yeah. I mean, there were several things that Jeremy Crawford said, and I did a video on this as well. That I was like, well, wow, he's not like a complete idiot.
He's finally waking up.
Yeah. I think
that dropping money.
Yeah, I think that maybe he's a little bit more nervous about the new CEO, and but.
Yeah, because she's a money girl. She's not a game girl.
Yeah. But yeah, plus she's more of a video game person as well. So, but anyway. Yeah, but he certainly undermined a lot of that, and he also undermined the idea of what canon is, all right, which was the biggest thing. He basically said you can pull canon. Well, canon is at your table, which was something that Chris Perkins, corrected him on the last time he talked about canon, and so now he reiterated it, which means that he learned a lesson, and but also the fact that you can pull canon from anything, and he included other additions. So if you want to include things like descending armor class, Well, that's canon. All right. It's whatever you want to pull from. So, it kind of throws out that canon only exists from 2014 moving forward. Nope. Canon is anything that you choose to run at your table. So when I am running AD&D First Edition at my table, that's D&D canon.
Yep.
It can no longer be stripped away, and let's see how they stick to it. And the other thing was he said, bottom line is that if that's what's fun at your table, that's all that matters.
Yes.
That is all that matters, is that you have to play. And I had pushback against this too. I was like, no, I'm really concerned about the 8 players at my table and then myself, that we're enjoying our time running through these adventures. And I don't care about the rest of the hobby as a whole. The hobby as a whole is going to continue on. It'll continue on long after I'm gone. The hobby will continue on long after D&D is gone.
Yep.
It will continue on regardless of these little blips. That is the one table in 100,000 globally, or however number of gaming tables there are. It's you just have to focus on whether or not you're having fun with your group of players, and that's really all you need to know. I don't need to buy another product, in order to continue playing the game that I want to play. I mean, I'm still using my 40-year-old hardbacks, that are, just as fine to run as, anything that's modern.
Exactly.
Let's see what else we have here. So players have agency over their characters' actions. Yes. All right. So let me just get caught up here. I had here the separation between player and character is one of the most important safety tools that a TM can create and should encourage. Yeah, I think it's really, really important that we encourage our players to separate themselves from their characters.
Yes.
In the
This
sense
is not
of,
real.
yeah, this isn't real. That's the greatest safety tool that you can probably give anybody. That way, they're not falling down that slippery slope of, um, the mazes and monsters effect with Tom Hanks's character there. I don't want anybody running through the sewers and stabbing anybody, thinking that they're a cleric or something. If you talk about mfrog in the positive way, you'll be blocked, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I know how much certain authors, just rub people the wrong way. And, I do make a separation between the game and the author. Sometimes you just have to separate the art from the artist. Is Mifrog a great game? No, it's not a great game, but it's a lot better than what, it was depicted as, what it was described as. But it's still an interesting game, decent mechanics to it. But yeah, you're right. If you go on there and you're talking about, oh, well, this or that, you'll get blocked. I don't know. I never played Fatal. It's like 900 pages long, so I didn't even print it out, and I just don't like reading. I'm pretty sure that it's certainly considered to be much worse than Mifrog. But I just never played it. But I guess that's considered the worst game, but I don't know. I've seen some of those recent one of those other recent games that came out that was like it was like the LGBT heroes game or something like that. I'm not talking
Thirsty
about
Sword Lesbians?
No. There was another one that came out even after that, and it was like they were superheroes.
Oh, the Sentai one, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, just read through it because I got like a free copy of it, as far as they were giving out the free PDF of like the starter set of it, and it was It was ridiculously bad. Well, I hear that Thirsty Sword Lesbians is a really bad game too. Like game mechanics wise, it's really amateurish and not much to it at all.
There's another one.
Yeah, I did this already. So let's see. Let's see. Uh, I'm only buying modules for the game system I recently discovered, but other than that, I have already game system I need to role play with.
So, yeah, pretty much.
I know I was watching his other thing with the Traveler. I was watching your video on the Traveler. It looked like it was a computer version of it, or it just allowed you to do character creation with it or whatever. But yeah, I'll have to dig back into that and take a look at it. I still haven't like fully read through all of my Traveler books yet, and I still don't. Still obviously haven't never played it and haven't run it, and would certainly like to give it a try. Let's see, but Cal Paizo did get started with working with back in two. Yep, and then managed Dungeon Magazine before it came out. So Paizo doing something for D&D isn't new. No, it wasn't. And
Rise of the Rune Lord started as a D&D adventure. Shackled City was a D&D adventure.
Yeah,
then
yeah, Ryan Dancy. Yeah, Ryan Dancy actually claimed, I don't know, like he was the true author of the OGL. And he did the OGL, I guess, with Wizards of the Coast, and then he brought it to Paizo, and that's what allowed Pathfinder to be created, was just using the OGL. Again, I don't know the exact history of it, and I only know what, like, Ryan Dancy certainly claimed that the OGL was his creation. So I don't know if that's factual or not. So let's see. You can take DM out of New York, but you can't take the New York out of the DM. No, you cannot. All right, so let's see. Only buying modules to the game. I recently got that one already. Another reason I play solo a lot. Bad player base with those easily offended by simple things. Yeah. Yeah, I can see why some people would say, I just don't want to deal with this. If you run older editions, you will limit the number of players. And I don't want to throw all modern players out out with the bathwater. But what I'm saying is that you just have to be mindful of what they're looking to come to the table with, and that's what session 0 is for. I mean, session 0 is also a good way to weed out those that are going to come to your table and bring that level of toxicity with them. It's just not session 0 is really good at doing that. I recently had an example of that in my dungeon master was running a Holmes edition D&D campaign, and we had a new player coming on, and the new player was like, well, I have this class in this race from Volo's Guide, and the DM was like, no, you can't use that. Here's a pre-generated character. If you want to use this, you're welcome to, or if you want to quickly roll up, it doesn't take long with the Holmes edition to roll up a character, and we'll wait and say, well, how about this character? Well, where'd that character come from? Volo's Guide. It was like, no, we're not using Volo's Guide. This is the Holmes edition. You can use anything from this edition, or here's a handful of characters that you can choose from.
Always
and then the player, who was a fairly young guy, I'd say in mid-teens, and he feigned illness and left the game. It was like, thank you, goodbye, good riddance. He was going to be a problem all along.
Yeah,
So
I've had
it's a
that.
good thing got rid of him.
I hate that. I mean, even when you try and work with them, they're like, no, I have to have it exactly my way, or then just I'm leaving.
Yes, older editions weed out the game killers. That is absolutely true. And if they, even if they do come in the very early on, once they start realizing, well, crap, I only have 6 hit die or 6 hit points, or 4 hit points for a magic user. They're like, oh damn, I'm like really nervous here that that cat, that house cat might be able to kill me.
A water balloon's gonna kill me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yes, it certainly could. Yeah, I don't know how therapeutic I am.
Yeah.
Probably not. I probably,
Well, we're trying to get rid of the word master, not
yes.
the first word.
Yes,
So
therapeutic master. I guess.
we
Oh,
gotta change the
GM.
GM
Yes,
to
yes.
something else.
What is so weak?
Great OG GM, OG Great Mind. Yeah, that's I think what we stand for now.
So let's see. So I think I had one more thing that I don't think we got to. No. Oh, my card was the
Yeah, you
Table
already
Masters
wrote
X
your
card.
version of safety tools.
Yes, I did. I wrote my, so I wrote, it's a free PDF that you can get on
Well,
drive-through.
give him money. Give him at least
Yes.
$1.
And it's I actually sold quite a few, so I was really happy with that. But it's called the safety tools of the OSR table. And basically what it is it's the rules that we kind of played with as a, as an old school table when we were teenagers, in the late 70s, early 80s. And we never had these names for things. Like, we didn't call it session zero. That's something that probably was created in the last 4 years or so. Maybe 5, or I don't even think it started with 5e in 2015. I think it's been much more recent than that. And we didn't have anything even remotely close to calling things safety tools, because it was never any risk of playing RPGs back in the day. I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, the riskiest thing we ever did was, when we were playing outside, that was risky as hell.
Riding my bike home at 1:00 in the morning was more risky than the game.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, kids growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were real risk takers back then. It's like, kids aren't built the way that we were back then. Certainly not as crazy as we were back then either. I mean, I can, tell many stories of just the stupid, crazy things that we did when we were kids. But yeah, so we just didn't have the terminology. So when I was sitting and I was writing this thing out, and it's probably about 6 or 7 pages of just like little anecdotals and little like kind of rules to just try to kind of follow. And it really was a safety tool for your table, in order to protect the dungeon master and the rest of the players, the majority of the players, from that toxic player that's going to come in and look to make demands at your table, and to say, well, I want this included, or I don't see myself in the world here. It's like, oh yeah, you're not going to see yourself in the world here because you don't exist in this world. Your character does. And if I had somebody come in and say, well, I don't see the, just off the top of my head, I don't see the Vietnamese culture in the world of Greyhawk. How come I don't see that? It's like, because there's no Vietnam in Greyhawk. There's no Africa in Greyhawk. There's no China. There's no Asia. There's no Europe in Greyhawk. All right. So if you're going to be looking for, well, where's the Italian representation or the German representation in the world of Greyhawk? You're not going to see it. All right. I certainly would introduce it, because it's just a completely different place. It's not reality. And so you shouldn't be able to see any kind of a reality. Now, people argue, well, there's themes that you can't get around. There's kings in Greyhawk, there's kings in the real world. Isn't that, the politics of the real world? And you think, no, that's just very basic level themes. And there's impossible to separate that from the game, but you don't have to have kings the same way. You don't have to have the same, um, you know, um, ascension to the kinghood through the same process, as you had in the real world. You could have a variety of ways of getting there. Maybe it's maybe the next king is always the third son of the third, uncle in the family, just something totally bizarre just to make it different than the real world. So, um, yeah, it's just so many different ways of making separations between the real world and the fantasy world, and that, I think, is what those OSR safety tools were really meant to be, was just to create that separation and to just get down to just playing the game. That's, yeah, yeah. Session zero could be very short. It can be very short. Hey, this is what we're going to be playing, and especially if you're using just the rules as written, then it's really easy. You say, oh, we're playing Holmes Edition D&D. It's one booklet. Just read through the booklet, and whatever you see in that book is what we're going to be doing. Very, very short.
I think at this point, there's just this group that doesn't represent the hobby that we can't make happy, no matter what side of the fence we're on. Considering, what am I? I'm either a leftist Nazi or a rightist Marxist, or one side or with the other. And then there's these people who are just like, no matter what, it's wrong. We can't win. So I don't know why we.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's fun. Why did I make the carrot cake video today, other than my personal feelings for that person? Because it was just so stupid.
Yeah, it was like I said, the initial video on the carrot cake, it made sense. All right. But if your takeaway from that was something completely, off the mark, then I can see why, you felt the need to make a follow up and say, no, this is just not, this I actually posted, on his video saying, that's not the take. That's not, at least certainly not my take from it. And I don't see how you can legitimately, take that away. And then to finish off with, Gary Gygax would have played 5e. It's just bizarre. I don't know how you get that idea from.
Well, we know,
Yes.
No matter what you say to him, you can't win. You learned that when you interviewed him.
Yeah. So if you want to play by your own rules, GM the group that have fun. When you sit at another GM's table, play by his rules. It's that simple. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's that simple. And if you don't like him, just say sorry and walk away.
Yeah, when in Rome, you either play by the rules or you look for the table where you're going to find something that you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with a player sitting at my table and then saying, you know what, I'm a little bit, or just I need a little break, walk away, continue doing what you need to do, and then come back and the game will continue on. I did a video about a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, taking that Monty Hook safety tools, Monty Cook safety tools thing, and just tearing it apart. But I went point by point through the whole thing and pointed out where I had problems with it. And in every case where I had a problem with it, it was the fact that Monty Cook was saying if a player has an issue with something taking place at the table, the whole table must come to a stop the, stop what's going on, even without knowing what was the trigger, that they were just supposed to assume that, well, we're just going to blast past this, lines and veils kind of thing, and just fade to black and all these other catchphrases that they had, and just move forward, then apologize for the unknown transgression. All right. And then check in to make sure that, all right, can we move on with this now? And maybe something else triggers, and now you have to stop and remove and move forward, and keep on doing that. I said it's very easy for somebody in a convention like setting where you have a limited time. You have 3 hours to play. Imagine somebody sitting at your table and say, you know what? I know this person from the internet, so I'm going to troll their table, and I'm going to keep on throwing these X cards, and just disrupt the game. And then if they tell me, hey, you can't throw any X cards anymore, I'm going to report this table to the managers of the convention and get you thrown out because, and that's the real rub of it. And we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen with that UK Expo a couple years back that Grim Jim was talking about, where the people didn't complain during the game, they complained after the game, and the convention banned that GM, for life. And he had been running games there for years leading up to there. And, there was no recourse, there was no explanation or anything like that. It was just like, oh no, you're banned for life because some nobody claimed that you didn't follow safety tools. And I've seen other commentators on YouTube say, oh no, where we want to get at is we want to get these safety tools used at conventions, and then you must use these safety tools. And then once you say, well, I use a safety tool, I use session 0. All right. No, that's not going to be enough. Like you said, it's never going to be enough. I was like, oh, no, you have to use this safety tool. And then if you use that safety tool, then they'll say, yes, but you have to include this now. Excuse me. So, excuse me. So, moving the goalposts is always what they're going to do until they get what they want. And what they want is, I think what they want is they want a completely sterile game that will, that will never challenge them. It will never be, there will be no conflict. That the newest book coming out in June, I believe, and I keep on forgetting the name of this stupid thing.
Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
Yes, which if you read it, it says it is conflict free.
Yeah, the city of the Radiant Citadel is conflict free.
Yeah, is conflict free.
Everything outside of it isn't. But
and it's essentially just it's the shopping mall sim.
Yeah.
All right. It's meant to just be a marketplace, and you're going there to buy all kinds of stuff. It's a shopping mall. So you have Starbucks that's being run out of Strixhaven, and then they hop through a gate portal and they go to the shopping mall. And this is going to be the multiverse. The multiverse is going to be zero combat, zero conflict, and zero risk, and all these, all they're going to be doing is bouncing from, one frivolous activity to the next, and it's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's not even a role-playing game. It's not a game because there's no
conflict.
Winning, losing in it.
There's no evolution of character.
Yeah. So let's see. going by the pictures, Greyhawk has some parallels
Oh
to
yeah,
the real
Greyhawk
world.
takes place on a planet called Earth. URTH. It's Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they again, they have those areas that are it's almost like saying it's not as much a parallel as The Hyborian Age by Robert E. Howard. All right, because Robert E. Howard was really, creating the world that Conan lived in as a proto world, of Earth. So and if you look at the map, you can see clearly where Africa is and crammed how it's crammed into Europe at that point, and not the separation. So you can see, where it's and it's supposed to parallel that. It's supposed to be Earth. 40,000 years ago rather than, 20,000 years ago, just after the ice ages. So it's just meant to be Earth in a proto era that, that is, unknown, undreamed of, kind of thing. So Greyhawk has those flavors to it, but I still couldn't tell you which country is France. Um,
Well,
or
considering there's androids in Greyhawk, it's probably supposed to be the future of Earth or an alternate Earth.
Yeah, so it's like there's
I guess we'll never know because he's
yeah,
dead. So only one person
yeah.
knows what Greyhawk really thinks like. So
All right, so let's see. All right, so let's go to maybe more shoes.
it's your game.
So-
Just have fun. If your game's not hurting anybody, then how is what I'm doing at my game hurting you?
Hmm.
I mean, if you're offended by the word dungeon master, don't play. If you're offended by the game, don't play.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's not going to change. Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons is whatever it is, but there's hundreds of other ways to tell the story and hundreds of other games out there for you. Continuing to poke this honey hive isn't really going to change anything. You're just recycling stuff you've said before. You want session 0, you want consent, you don't want session 0, you don't want consent. We don't know anymore. Just go home.
So if we look at the calendar, so we should see this issue come up again by August.
Yeah.
That's the 4-month mark. Yeah. So August 7th, we'll see if it comes up again August 7th. And that should be the indicator. It'll be like, oh, okay, there it is. It'll come back under a new form, slightly altered form.
Somebody will be offended by Radiant Citadel, and then they'll have to go how Radiant Citadel was racist.
Yeah, it'll be well, like they
How
did.
Dare you have a person of color write an adventure about the experiences of people of color? I know people of color, and they were offended by that adventure.
Yeah, it's well, there was the one with the I think someone had complained that Wizards of the Coast altered their story for, maybe it was for Candlekeep, and they altered one of the stories and made the bullywugs like colonial. So it was like, oh, they made them very tribal. Actually, it made the bullywugs very tribal, and they thought that was a colonialist view of them and not what the author originally intended. And he literally thought that he would coerce them to pull the adventure from the project before it got published. And Wizards of the Coast, well, no, we're publishing it anyway. So he was really pissed off. I don't know if that was Daniel Kwan or someone. I think it might have been Daniel Kwan, who was the person that made, his claim to fame was to attack Oriental Adventures, because
yes. The non-Oriental guy who attacked Oriental.
Yes.
In the name of fellow Oriental people.
So the Canadian.
Yeah. I'm not Oriental, but I know some Oriental people, and they were offended.
I just ate at a Chinese food restaurant, so I now feel offended. No conflict equals no real story. Yes, there's you can't have a story without conflict.
Yeah.
So there's I thought their whole thing was storytelling. Well, you can't be telling a story
You
without
can't
any
tell a story without
conflict.
conflict. Name
Yep.
one story where no conflict happens.
Mhm.
And conflict does not equal combat. Because
Yeah,
there's
no,
dramatic
it's
conflict, there's
mhm.
comedic conflict, there's romantic conflict, there's social conflict. Evolution is conflict. Find me one story with no conflict. Even the very hungry caterpillar is conflict.
The hobbits were British,
Yes.
Numerians, Romans.
Yes.
Rohan was Saxons and Germanic.
Rohan was landbound Vikings.
Yeah, it was. I guess Germanic would fall into that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
All right.
he wanted to give Britain a mythology,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit was.
Yeah. It's a racist product. When they advertise that no white people person is working on the project, except for the the highest level
Yeah, Crawford and
project
Perkins are still
manager.
working on it. They're white.
Yeah. Yes, Daniel Kwan. Wow. Let's see. Funny case. They seem to thrive on conflict. Yeah, yeah. In real life, yes, yeah. They do nothing but generate conflict
Yes.
within the hobby, and that's because they're trying to destroy it. That's the point. Is they're trying to keep on prodding at it and trying to figure out, well, how can we get into it? I go back to that video I did a long time ago with the one guy that was on Twitter that was saying, we tried to get into the OSR so that we could destroy it from the inside, but we couldn't find. Basically, what he was saying was we couldn't find who was in charge of it in order to have that person canceled and cancel the whole thing in one shot. They literally thought the OSR had a head, that you could just, eliminate the head and the body will die. And they were like, no, there was just too many different, too many different communities, too many different, you know, people that had influence within it. And so just, it was just too much work for them because they're ultimately lazy. Too much work for them to try to destroy it from within. Yeah, that I mean that's the safest place to be, is the fact that the OSR doesn't have a head. It was very easy for them to destroy Wizards of the Coast, because they infiltrated it and destroyed it from within. And it's that's how they're able to destroy the franchise, is that they managed to get inside it. You can't do that with the OSR, because there's just too many publishers. Self-publishing is the greatest thing that has ever happened for this hobby. And that's because it's just freed up so many people to be able to get there. Now, if you look at 1,000 games, are only 200 of them, halfway decent? Probably. Are only 50 of them like, wow, I'm glad I have this? Yeah, probably. That's probably true as well. Are there 10 really true, these are phenomenal games? Yes, most likely. So, is the 1% the real shining, aspect of it, and the other 99% is like meh? Yeah, that's probably true. All right. But there's at least, you know, 10 or 20 really great games out there in the OSR. And Wizards of the Coast really just has Magic of the Gathering, which I've never actually played, but I'm assuming that it's a It's a really good game for what it does. But I don't know anybody who thinks that Dungeons and Dragons Fifth Edition, isn't comparable to the McDonald's hamburger. When all's said and done, even its greatest proponent of it still acknowledges that game mechanics wise, it's not a great game. But it's all about the label. It has the Dungeons and Dragons label.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember when you did that video when you were saying I could put the D&D label on a bagel, and now this is Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, Wizards of the Coast can call anything they want Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't mean it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
They can call this bagel Dungeons and Dragons. It's not Dungeons and Dragons.
That was a great video.
It's their word. They can do whatever they want with it. We all just sort of accept that that's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's its own game now, which is fine. It's not,
Yeah, that's why I like to call it Wizards of the Coast Fantasy.
It's Wizards of the
Coast RPG third edition.
It's Magic the Gathering, the role playing game.
Yeah. So let's see. OSR has its share of good and bad apples, but overall, it represents gaming instead of how you should be gaming.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true for anything. There's definitely, not everybody who plays 5e is a psychotic whack job.
No, I'm sure that there,
a lot of them are just people who want to play,
But I guarantee you one thing: they probably only use the core.
Yeah,
they probably only use the core books.
Yeah.
Very little. I think there was the only really positive review I've seen of any of their recent books was for Fizzbands. Fizzbands was an actual source book.
Yeah.
And it remained like it stayed true to what its purpose was to be a dragon source book. Everything else they're trying to do these it's 20% this, 40% that, another 20% something else, and it's either a source book or it's an adventure path or it's a it's a character supplement, but you can't have a mix of everything all in one thing and do none of them really well.
Yeah. It's not just that they don't know what they're doing, it's that they just sort of give up on the product after they throw it out there. When was the last time Candlekeep came up in a discussion, or Ravenloft? Remember how angry we were about Ravenloft? Even Mordecai that was only like 4 or 5 weeks ago when everybody was like, "Oh, Mordecai is," and now it's like, what happened to it?
Yeah, no, because it never really sold. The thing.
Sorry, sales are down. Sorry, my stock is dropping.
Yeah, it's you can't count the 10 copies that they force every game store to carry so that they can also carry Magic the Gathering, because that's exactly the scam that they do. All right. It's you cannot sell Magic the Gathering unless you get 5 copies of each of the newest books of 5e. All right. And if you have 1,000 gaming stores, and on the East Coast, then that's 5,000 copies sold. All right, and that's what they'll use. But the only reason why they're actually carrying those books, and they sit on their shelves for months.
Oh yeah.
All right, they don't move at all. I've been in my local game store, back in January, and then I've gone in, about a month or so ago. Went in there, looked at it, the same number of books lined up
in the same exact place. Like nobody's even touched them.
No, exactly it. They've never been touched. They've, if there was 4 of one next to 5 of another, I really wanted to take pictures of it. I just don't know what their policy is. Well, why are you taking pictures in our store? But I would have loved to have gone in there, taken a picture of it, then gone back, every single month and see, not you would see not one of those books moved.
Oh, I did that with Strixhaven up until the day Seth's closed. I went in like every week and I was like, has any Strixhaven copies sold? And they're like, no.
No, it's just
sorry, 5e.
Did you ask them why they carried it?
And they had to.
Yeah. You can't sell Magic the Gathering unless you carry.
Magic the Gathering unless you get at least 4 copies. Of the latest book. It's part and parcel of the deal with Diamond and everything.
Yep, and yeah, that's how comic book stores worked. It's like, oh, you have to get the alternate covers, otherwise you don't get
alternate covers. Yep.
Yeah, and they had no return policy. It was all loss. It was like all loss, but we'll make it up for you by giving you, these things.
Yeah.
We'll let you get these things that will sell. All right, let's see.
Yes, if Paizo keeps making third-party product, they could rise crappily to the top again.
Yes,
I mean they're number 2 right now, so
yeah.
They've only got to do something, and they could be number 1 again. It'd be funny if they were the ones to do it twice in a row.
You know what? It would be like Sega. When Sega got away from making consoles, and they just concentrated on software, they just concentrated on making games. They found that they couldn't compete with the console wars, but they were producing more games than anybody else, and that was their niche. I could see Paizo, because I know Paizo is probably struggling. 2E was not as successful as they were hoping, and
Starfinder is great.
Yeah, so they're probably going to look to do more of those crossovers, more of that third party and function as a third party. And if their writing staff is much better than Wizards of the Coast, they're going to that's where they'll make their money at. They'll make their money in the 5th edition market, as a third party publisher.
Yeah,
and money is money. Money is money.
They're ready. They're number 2 in sales right now. So
yeah, so I could see them definitely doing that, because their adventure paths were always considered to be fairly solid, and Wizards of the Coast can't say the same for theirs.
No, their adventure paths won awards. I mean, Rise of the Rune Lords won awards. Didn't I bring this up earlier today? When was the last time D&D 5e won an award? Oh.
No, they never have.
Yeah,
maybe the first year, 2015. Maybe 2015.
No, it didn't.
It didn't win that.
Other than sales wise, it hasn't won anything. It hasn't been nominated. They just had 4 role-playing games nominated for Nebula Awards. None of them were D&D.
Yep, it's just a game. They're all just games. Rip Dreamcast.
You take that back, Rasputin. You take that back.
Was that the last console of?
Yeah, the Sega Dreamcast. That was the king of Madden on the Dreamcast.
Yeah. No, you know what? What was the worst one was during that time? Was Neo Geo. Wasn't like $150 a game or something like that? It was or even more than that. Like it was or $400 a game or something like that. And the cartridges were like this big.
Yeah, because they were like massive. But
they looked great for their time, but yeah, I originally backed OSE and then I backed out of it, because I was like, you know what? They Exalted Funeral was still allowing their Discord to ban people left and right just because they liked a particular comment or whatever, and I was like, I'm just not giving you my $100, so I canceled it. But and besides, I mean, how many retro clones do I need? I have probably half a dozen of them. So
Way more
and
than I
and
do.
and for multiple different variants of Dungeons and Dragons. So I really don't need any more.
Yes, it was.
Dreamcast was ahead of its time. Okay, so we have run off the field from our original thing, but hey, this is just a shoot the breeze kind of day as well. Dueling Dragon Adventures. Hello, I don't recognize you, so
Hello.
welcome to the OSR tabletop, and hello, Dueling Dragon Adventures. Most likely an OSR self-publisher as well. So if you have anything and you want to leave a comment in there, want me to take a look at it, or the
Show your stuff.
OTGM can take a look at it, show your stuff. All right. And we mean that in the most innocuous way or whatever, the most appropriate way.
Rasputin, shill your adventure that you did for the thing. The OSR thing. Rasputin and I both wrote adventures for the OSR Jam last month.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
I know I have your other adventure that you had. Everybody had a flaming sword. I was like, dude, you got to tone this thing down now.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was a good adventure, but those swords were a little bit too OP. Yeah. I was like, it was the OPGM.
Yeah. I've learned my lesson.
I was like, I actually, every once in a while, I come across that kind of a thing too. In my game, I was like, oh, because if I roll up the treasure and it comes up, something random, I'm like, oh crap, +3 sword, no. It's like, yeah, verbal weapons, yes.
Yeah, everybody remembers verbal weapons, but nobody remembers that they could break.
Yeah. I like 5e, and I'm only slightly deranged.
Hey, you're not slightly deranged, Beep Supreme. 5e as an engine is great.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I even with the core books, there's certain things like I would eliminate short rests. I don't like so many different, what do they call it? Like the action economy. I don't like having so many different, secondary, tertiary kind of skills. So it's like you get one action, maybe one action, one minor action, and that's pretty much it. Until you get higher level, then you might have 2 minor actions and then 1 action, or eventually 2 actions per round, and that should be it. I don't like the fact that the couple of times that I've played 5e and it's like, oh, well, this didn't work, so I'm going to try this now. Oh, that didn't work. I'm going to use my bond, feat that I had here because of the, my background skill feat, or just, chance after chance after chance to get something done. And to me, it was like, nah, it's just too easy.
Yeah, it's not D&D.
Yes, it is. It is a fantasy superhero game.
Mm-hmm.
5e rules seem fragmented. They're probably well organized, though. I mean, that's the one thing that when you look at a comparison, like the first edition AD&D DMG is, you want to hit yourself over the head with a ball peen hammer trying to figure out some of that crap. I mean, it's just the formatting of it is so bad that it's just a tough read to go through, and to pick out rules and to find anything in it is, you'd have to put in 1,500 sticky notes to find everything that you might have to look up. But It certainly is. Um, it certainly is a better formatted or and layout type of a system, but that's just because it's it has 40 years of refinement in that area to look at. I think the hobby in general has become DM unfriendly, and that's the real gist of it, is that they're trying to strip the dungeon master, or the game master, whatever they call. They're trying to strip that individual of having so much control over their own table, and they forget that the true commodity is that the dungeon master is, 1/5 of the overall player population, but probably the most important 1/5 of the entire population. It's always easy to find players. It's hard to find DMs, and that's the real thing. The DM is the commodity. Hi, Gygaxian. I saw some math on 5e with the extra hit points and the higher damage. It worked out to be about the same. No, because you're not counting the multiple actions. You're not counting rolling with advantage. You're or stacking features, or any of those things that just keep on adding on and adding on and adding on, that just make it nearly impossible. Uh, Maybe at first level, but once you get to third, fourth, or certainly by fifth level, the characters are almost like the low teens in comparison. If you have a seventh level character in 5e, that's the equivalent of level 12 in AD&D First Edition. Yes, it's I'm going to try to think how many times I've had. I only had one DM that I wasn't happy with, and that's just because I think that I was playing a magic user, and he never gave me an opportunity. I was like third level and still using first level spells because we never got to freaking town to actually learn new spells. So it was like just never let the characters advance, completely within their own class. um and fortunately he wasn't even using like first edition rules for leveling up, and training time and all that kind of thing. But literally there was like, I was walking around as a third level magic user with only first level spells, and just the ones that I started out the game with. So it was like, I was like, are we ever going to go back to town where I can learn second and third level spells? And it was like, nope. Or not second level spells actually. And it was like, no, just never finished it. I got to the point where I was actually looking to kill my own character off in some way, just so I could roll a character that didn't have to go to town in order to utilize their skills. So I was going to roll up a thief or a fighter. Yeah, we're other tables. The game was just the game. Imagine being obsessed by how other players play Monopoly. Yeah, I mean the most, when I was growing up, the most that, like, if we went to the public library, there might have been 4 different tables going. Back then, hobby shops did not have tables set up for gaming. That just wasn't a thing. Because there was no, I'm talking about by the mid '80s. I don't think there were any battle card games yet in the States in the early '80s. Maybe you know better than I do, OGGM. Were there any
Uh,
battle card games back then?
Magic the Gathering was
That's
1990.
'90s, yeah. I don't think in the
Before
'80s
that,
was there
no. I
Pokemon.
mean, there was
Pokemon wasn't
Pogs.
even.
No, we didn't
There
have
was
Pokemon.
Pogs, yes, there was
We
Pogs,
had Pogs. Pogs was
yeah,
before Magic.
and Pogs originally came out of the the
Hawaiian
milk
milk caps.
the milk container caps, yeah,
Hawaiian milk
the,
caps.
yeah, but Pogs was a thing. I might be conflating it with filling up the bottle caps with soap and shooting them, across a thing we used to do on a thing. Pogs was that's with bouncing them, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I still have my slammer.
yeah. I never got into that, but I just remember it, but I never actually play, or at least I don't remember playing it. I probably did, but it wasn't something I spent a lot of time with. Go to jail is banned, of course, because it's problematic. Okay. I don't know. Let's see. What did I miss? Yeah. No. Yeah, Pogs was more like Jax. Yeah. Jax I played when I was a kid. Well, I never played Pogs or Jax, so I might be talking out of my ass. Okay. Um, yeah, Jax was bounce the ball, scoop up as many Jacks as you could, and then catch the ball before it hit the ground. All right. Let's just coming up on 2 hours, so let's get back to the banners here. So basically, we were talking about if you are joining late, and we'll start to do a wrap up. And we were talking about the fact that every 3 or 4 months, the issue of safety tools and session zero, and now the newest iteration of that is to remove the word master from dungeon master and to call it dungeon runner or something like that. So it's just yet another effort to attack the OSR. And and then we had the carrot cake video, which wasn't meant to be an attack on the OSR, but it was certainly used that way.
Yeah, well,
And
OSR.
yes, and then I forget what else has come up, during these last couple of days, because this is pretty fresh. As far as I know, the Red Room had to deal with answering this question as well.
Yeah,
I'm
Sylvia
sure
did
it's
a few videos on it.
yeah. You did a video on it. Now we're doing this live stream on it. I'm surprised Venture doesn't actually get pulled into these things so much. That's because he's Gonzo role playing. He's not so much OSR. So he's his own thing. He gets plenty of he
He gets
catches
plenty of
plenty of
hate.
flack. Yeah, he gets plenty of attacks.
Yeah.
And he's probably one of the most legitimate Kickstarter people that I've seen. I mean,
Him and Pundit, yeah.
yeah, I mean, as far as producing stuff and getting it out to you and in high quality stuff, um, they probably one of the most, and fast as well. Like, you really can't attack the guy on any issue that I can see. So it's like, and VentureCon, if you can get to VentureCon in July, I mean, I'm certainly looking to go and run some games there. And I have a couple of players who are going to be there as well. So that's certainly something that I have. It's if I remember correctly, it is July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Madison, Wisconsin. And so I highly recommend going. There's still plenty of room for people to go. I believe it's sold about 20 tickets so far of 100. So plenty of room to get there. I do know that he can run the con at a less than 100 if he needs be. And actually that might even make a better con for itself as well, because it's, the much smaller number of people, you'll be able to get into more games and get a chance to meet everybody too. So, but let's hopefully we'll get those numbers up higher and just have more opportunities to, to meet some of you and to, to play some games out there in Wisconsin. So it's going to be interesting. I know I didn't get a chance to, Gary Con being in March, just, I do work, so it's not something I can get myself out to. But eventually I will get to a Gary Con. Maybe when I retire. I never played Pogs. We got this one already. Thanks for the stream, guys. Good fun. Yeah, thank you for coming in, Clarence. Yeah, I'm going to start wrapping up. OGGM, you have anything else to...
I think I said all I wanted to say about safety tools and Session Zero. We know I'm a big fan of it, and the whole carrot cake thing. I've definitely will posted videos about it. I'm sure there will be a response.
Now we have your next food challenge.
Yeah, to eat some carrot cakes.
Yes.
Gotta find a carrot cake and eat it.
Yeah. The gas station carrot cake.
Yeah, well, there's a Vons near where I live. I can probably get carrot cake there.
So
that's more like ice cream.
That's your next food challenge.
All right.
I'll see if I can find a carrot cake. Well, obviously I can.
Yeah,
I can get various types of carrot cake, I guess, and we can do a food challenge of eating carrot cake.
Michelin star award winning. All right, thanks everybody for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the DM Bloodworth, I'm sorry, I can't call him DM anymore.
I'm going to stick with DM.
Game Guy Bloodworth.
Game Guy. Yeah.
Check out his stuff. He posts a lot of amazing thing, and of course, remember to subscribe to my vlog because I will sell out.
Yes,
you help me hit 1,000.
Yes, well, let's get you to 666 first.
Yeah,
666. Because I think you're so. I think we have to get you there, and then you should have Venture come on your show when you get there.
Don't get me blocked.
Yeah, and then we'll see. We'll see what else. So I know that you've written a few things now. Have you?
Yeah, I've written them. I just got to get them up to publish it. I've written a ton of stuff in the past couple 2 months. I just have to get it. Do I want to publish it? Kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. I've been working on something as well, and I kind of let it slide for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully I have a vacation coming up very soon. So I have spring break coming up in about a week and a half. So I'll have about 10 days where I could spend some time writing, and hopefully I should be able to finish that project up by then during that break. And then I'll be hitting that over to drive through. So hopefully within the next month, I'll have something new up on drive through. Okay. And I'll check out your channel. Yes. So it is the OGGM Adventures, correct?
Yep, the OGGM Adventures.
And I am unscripted. Yes, and I am unscripted and unchained RPG review. And so you'll see that. And obviously you can link through here. And I'm pretty sure OGGM's channel is featured on my channel. So if you go to my channel, you can see the link directly to his as well.
Yep, same with mine.
So yeah, we kind of have a little network of channels that we kind of share and feed in for each other and such. So it is a it is a network of small YouTubers that we just enjoy each other's company and talking about gaming and all we have. I would say we're probably about 80% on the same page as far as things concerned, and that other 20% is always something that we can talk and debate and still have civil conversations over, and then every once in a while somebody will fall out and fall out of our graces, and we can no longer talk to them anymore. We get blocked. We get blocked across the board by people we've never met before. So, and that's or interacted with, which is always amazing to me. It's like, oh, I didn't even know you with 500,000 subs actually know who the hell I am. So, okay. So
thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for joining in, and everyone else. We're coming right up on 2-hour mark. Yeah. So worked out perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
All right. Carrot cake tomorrow.
Carrot cake tomorrow.
Bye.